What's up, everybody? It's Thursday night, and that means it's time to talk about movies. This is the POVincent podcast, and I am your host, Vincent Diniano. With me is my co-host, the human megaphone. We're going to go with megahorn. It just sounds more manly. Eric Williams. How you doing, man?
I feel like you were able to encapsulate that I have a huge voice and a giant nose with the megahorn thing. Like, well done. Well done. Yeah. No. The man with the softest hair I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's me. Anyway, for those of you watching on the live stream, you notice we have another person in the studio tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I know her as Sarah. You know her on Twitch as K-Nukshi, the Twitch gamer. Sarah, thanks for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, for everyone watching who's not familiar, would you tell us about what you do on Twitch?
So I've been streaming for about a year and a half, and I primarily stream indie titles or older games. We just got done with a 90s November where we streamed all the old 90s games.
Sweet.
It was super awesome. But I have a very nice knit community. We talk about sex, our favorite porn positions, literally anything, and just have a really good time.
Coming January, the POVincent Porncast. Special guests, whoever I can get.
Wait, so when are you covering Leisure Suit Larry?
Ooh, actually, that is on my list. I have it on my wish list on Steam to pick up at some point. They're
Nice.
coming out with a new one, I believe, or at least another game by the same developers. I can't quite remember. I'd have to double check.
I just kind of keep hoping they'll figure out a way to reboot both Space Quest and King's Quest. Kind of more my jam.
Yeah, King's Quest was lit when I was a child.
Wait, which one did you start with?
I don't fucking remember. I was like 6.
Well, no, because the evolution, like, it's one of those, like, 3 or 4 is, like, you type in the commands, like, and then
I didn't type. I did that with MUDs.
5 and 6, you, like, click and solve puzzles, and then starting with 7, it was a weird animated one, then 8 was RPG style?
Okay, I think I might have started with 6 or 7. That's
6 is the shit.
Yeah.
I think it's Prince Edward. That sounds right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so long ago.
I went back. I fell into one of those YouTube holes where I went down and I watched like a 2.5 hour like beating of the game, and I was just like, "This is fantastic," and just quicker than actually beating the game myself.
Pretty much.
All right.
You're like, I don't know how to say more about King's Quest.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is K-Nukshi. She's going to be with us throughout the entire show tonight, and we got a ton to talk about. We got to talk about.
Oh man,
yes, we got some big trailers to talk about. One that's that. Well, we'll get around to it. We're going to get into some television tonight. Talk about the DC TV or Arrowverse Elseworlds crossover special that happened this past week, and then we're going to end the show, of course, with a movie review of Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. But first off, let's get into trailers. Last week, we covered trailer 2 for Captain Marvel. And then the next day, it didn't fucking matter anymore. At all. Sorry, Brie Larson. I mean, I feel like she knew it was coming. But, ladies and gentlemen, finally, the internet was craving it. The internet was going to explode if we didn't get it soon enough. But we finally got Avengers 4 trailer. Avengers Endgame. So let's talk about it. I got it on my laptop here. I've watched it a few times over the course of the week. The trailer opens up. We got Tony Stark, Iron Man. He seems to be on the Guardians of the Galaxy's current ship because their old ship got blown up, and he's all alone on it. Or it seems at times. Sometimes it seems like he's alone on it. Sometimes it seems like he's got Nebula on it. But either way, he's like doing a farewell video to Pepper in case he never sees her again. And it's one of those moments where you're like Robert Downey Jr. is bringing the quality there, and and then we keep going to every character, and everyone's just sad.
People are talking about Iron Man's position being really sad, but I'm just impressed that Tony Stark is still sober.
How is he even still alive, though? Like, his wound,
his contract's still going.
No, I mean, but he got stabbed in the freaking gut.
Well, if we're going to this, how did he survive the first film? Like, he's like, oh, hey, like this thing that powers my heart and keeps me alive, I'm just gonna discharge it, and then Gwyneth Paltrow is gonna hold me, and then I'm still alive, because sequels.
I'm gonna assume Nebula's with him. I can't see her just fucking off.
I wouldn't ship it.
Yeah.
I know.
Here's what I think is going to happen. This is my theory. I feel like at the beginning of the show when I see him talking to the Iron Man helmet to record the video, he's alone at that point. Right after, like, they got off Titan on the ship, they left, but they were running low on supplies, and Nebula is just devastated because she failed to stop Thanos, and Gamora's dead, and she pulls and she kills herself so Tony will have more supplies to live off of, so hopefully he can get back to Earth and reassemble the Avengers and take care. I feel like she's going to kill herself.
I have a problem with that because she's primarily robotic. So what? I mean, she may not, for all we know, she may not even run off of actual
oxygen
or oxygen. I mean, we've seen
got
her.
batteries.
Didn't she? Wasn't it in the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or was it the first one? Didn't she just float through space, just like I can't remember?
Well, that was Gamora.
No, not that. We're thinking about different scenes, though.
Oh, okay.
But maybe I'm just.
I think there might be a scene.
I feel there was a scene where she was not.
Well,
I feel like it's established that she is way more cyborg than Gamora is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that she's not invincible at the same time. I'm sure. I'm not saying she like blows herself out into space or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm saying she probably either takes a gun to her head because she still has to have some kind of brain to function. I'm just saying. I think she's going to take herself out.
I don't think so. I feel like they've set up.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I just think they've set up too good of an emotional pull with Gamora and Nebula to just be like, oh, like I'm really sad my sister died. Now I'm just going to kill myself because that will help things.
I mean, doesn't in the comics Nebula is responsible for Thanos' overturn anyway? So I don't see why they wouldn't. They could potentially play on that.
Yeah. And in the comics, like like 5 minutes after the snap, she gets the glove and uses it to switch things back and then take Thanos out.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, it's obviously not going to be 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
But I don't see why they couldn't play the angle where at the end she gets to be the hero. To an extent. I mean, they're not going to make her the face of the Avengers.
I feel like they might be playing to that too. It becomes difficult. Okay, a lot of times with Hollywood stuff, you can kind of call things based on who's cast, yada, yada. Like, it's part of the reason that Scream got such a publicity stunt because Drew Barrymore was the biggest star. And it was all like, Drew Barrymore! And then they killed her in the first 5 minutes. Like, it was Thanos, and Nebula had the gauntlet. Like, just like that. But the cast, you've got, 30 A-listers? So figuring out who's gonna save the day is just, although... Well, let's continue with things that happen in the trailer because my favorite part comes up.
Because, so we continue on. We go past Tony and the whole Nebula thing, and we go back to Earth's Avengers home base, right? And all the Avengers are just devastated. We get a lot of talking between Captain America and Black Widow. They're talking, and, they formed a friendship over the course of the movies, and they're just talking about a possible plan. And then when they said, and Black Widow's like, it's going to work, Steve. And he's like, I know it's going to. Because if it doesn't, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
We get a brief look at Thor looking very Peter Falk or Columbo.
Yeah.
He's got that glass eye rolling around.
Yeah, he's just sitting down like, he's lost. And that's the thing about Thor. You got to feel bad for Thor because Thor Ragnarok lost his planet. Like, half of his race, the Asgardians, got taken out. Then, once he thinks everything's fine, Thanos shows up and probably takes out, another remaining half of the remaining half. He has no idea where they all are right now. They could all have gotten wiped out in the snap, which apparently, this was revealed by the Russo brothers, the in-universe name for the snap is the Decimation.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be hearing a lot of that. I feel bad for Thor because he failed. I'm not. That's not me being mean, but he failed. And I'm like, how?
Oh yeah, no, his shot at the end of the game totally bounced off the rim.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gotta feel bad. And then there's.
Did I just say that Thor took a rim shot?
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's what that deserved. That's about what that deserves, Sarah.
I'm gonna let you all know. Before we started the show tonight, there were certain topics we were covering in the studio. I'm not gonna say who started the topic, Sarah, but.
I mean, I did say that I like to talk about porn and sex. It's one of my favorite topics.
Follow her on Twitch.
You did kind of open with that. You were like, like old school video games and porn and sex.
Yeah, it didn't just start with the
favorite positions. Not talking about sports.
Yeah. So anyway, let's continue on with the. There's no way to segue out of that motherfucker. But anyway, so finally, also in the trailer, Also in the trailer, we finally get to see Hawkeye's back, and as we've seen like on-set photos, he is now Ronin, his alternate like hero character, and it appears that he's in Japan, and which makes sense. His name's Ronin, and he's just killing these people. And you see him like take off a mask, and he turns to look at Black Widow, and he's just got this look on his face, like he's just destroyed, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" Like, and it's probably safe to say that either one or two, or if all of his family members got taken out in the decimation. And I think they're going to go with the whole family. Like he had a wife, he had 2 kids, and they had that baby they had like at the end of Age of Ultron. So it's going to be really interesting to see where Hawkeye is mentally, because it seems like he's gone back to his old assassin life, because we've seen out the course of the movies, him, just like Black Widow, was previously a world-class assassin before he became a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And it seems like that's what he's going back to. At least that's what I'm seeing from the trailer. What do you guys think? Do
we have any idea about how much time is going to pass from the decimation to the points we've seen in the trailer?
There has been some discussion about the passage of time, whether like maybe the start of the movie is going to be just like, because like shortly right after the snap/decimation, and maybe it's going to like go up a year, a little bit here and there, like we're going to jump ahead a year. I do think within the movie there's going to be a huge time jump, because they have to wait for. We have no idea like how long it's going to take Tony to get back to Earth. And a lot of people are theorizing that Captain Marvel is going to like be on her way to Earth and like bump into Tony, and that's how he's going to get back. Some people are thinking like, no, it's Pepper Potts.
Well, there's also another big thing that has to happen from a previous movie that we know has to happen because of another scene that comes in the trailer.
You just really want to get to that scene.
What do you want, Eric? Reveal it to us. Reveal it to us.
Okay, look, Paul Rudd is just beautiful, and him as Ant-Man is as good a role for him as Iron Man was for Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. So at the end of Ant-Man 2, we see Ant-Man get caught in the what's it? Not the microverse. What's the word?
That works. That works.
Yeah.
He goes into the tiny quantum space or
quantum
whatever.
Quantum realm. There we go.
You go.
He gets caught in the quantum realm because Wasp and old Ant-Man and old Wasp, they get taken out in the snap, and like they're the only ones that could pull him out. How he's going to get out, I don't know. He's warned, like, stay away from the time portals while you're down there. And that's what's going to happen. He somehow found a way to get out. I mean, he got out before.
What is that, Chekhov's time portal?
Do you know, someone brought this up, and I really want to see this, but I want to see him get out near Lewis, and Lewis just narrates what happened to him in his normal way. So
we were getting, like, some Italian ice, and all of a sudden, my Italian ice just turned to dust. And next thing I turned to my cousin. I was like, "Cuz, what the fuck happened to Italian ice?" And my cousin was gone, man. It was just nothing but fucking Ovaltine all over the floor.
And I want to see like the cast of the Avengers, but acting it out. Like,
oh my god, Michael Pena voices and like Soul came down like, "I'm gonna save the universe," and like it's all stuff. Oh, no. I'm like, stop now. I was on a good run. I'm gonna stop it now before I kill it. So that is. Here's the thing. I kind of want that to happen, but Endgame's gonna be like really serious. I feel like, but if we just get that right there at the beginning, real quick. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be a hell of a tonal shift, but I think like it'll be like it's no welcome tonal shift. But anyway, So oh god, so much to go over. And so Paul Rudd shows up at the end, like at the front door, and they're all like, "Is this an old recording?" And it's like, no, Ant-Man's still alive, because we see early in the trailer Bruce Banner going over a list of people who've died. And where is it? I just had it up. There we go. They think Ant-Man's dead. They got.
They had
Peter
missing on his card though.
Missing. Oh, okay. I didn't zoom in. I didn't zoom enough. And also, I think. Other confirmed. Yeah, Shuri, Black Panther's sister and the head of technology in Wakanda. We see that she got taken out. Guys, the trailer as a whole. Did you guys like it?
I mean, it was. I thought the opening shot was brilliant. I enjoyed Iron Man's opening shot, but after that, it just seemed like a mess of vague items thrown in there to sort of lead you to a direction, but to not show enough. But it's so vague that I just don't care that much.
Okay, before we get into DC television, I'm going to tie in three trailers here. So I feel like the Aquaman trailer, the Captain Marvel trailer and the the Avengers trailer all have similarities in that they were like, well, we want to show people how badass the special effects are going to be, but we also don't want to spoil anything. So they're kind of limited. And so I would agree with you that I feel like it's intended to be just a collage of things like, hey, here's a little bit, because otherwise you'll figure out that someone needs to like just make another gauntlet and then do what Thanos did, which was pretty obvious at the end of the first film. Like, I mean, which obvious, but at the same time, credit to the fucking Marvel for doing the Avengers present The Empire Strikes Back.
I do think that they've set it up pretty clear that Cap is going to be potentially leading the way for. I have a theory. So if you watch the Avengers Infinity War throughout the entire movie, mentioned by both Thanos and or done by his actions, etc., there's this thing where we don't sacrifice.
Right.
And we don't trade lives.
Mm-hmm.
When you see it between Doctor Strange and Iron Man, you see it with Cap and Vision, but then you see Thanos trade a life by trading Gamora. Yeah. And so I have a feeling that there's going to be a life traded, potentially Cap's, in not necessarily death. It could be, I don't know, there's a popular theory running that he's going to somehow end up back in his time and be able to live out his life and die before the events of the first Avengers actually happen, or he'll be transported to a different dimension, something to that capacity, or he'll end up in the Soul Stone and the Soul Stone will be destroyed because I don't know. There's multiple theories, but I do believe that Marvel wouldn't have concentrated so hard on that message
if it wasn't definitely going to happen. Yeah. Chekhov again.
Yeah.
Who do we think dies for realsies? And
Cap.
There's been a bunch of debate about, is it going to be Cap or is it going to be Iron Man?
Iron Man won't die.
I don't know. Well, to me, it's always been, I'm a big NBA fan. A lot of people will argue basketball, but I'm always like, you can be like, this player's good. I'm like, but if you don't know what their contract is like, it's a lot harder to figure out the structure. And the thing is, it's going to be based largely on the contracts and who's still up. But for all the like, oh, Tony Stark's going to die because of blah, blah, blah in the movie and the setup for this, they finished filming, and Chris Evans was like, oh, this has been so great. Goodbye, everyone.
I remember that. They were like, no, I just meant it was a nice... Oh, God, fuck.
No, I think Chris Evans has a sense of finality to what he says, and if you watch his interviews and everything like that, he's done with the Marvel Universe. I mean, we see in the comics that Captain America does retire but comes back as a consultant or lead SHIELD. But I think that's going to retire to Iron Man. I think Robert Downey Jr. will take Stan Lee's place in cameos, is what I think will happen.
I think that actually makes... Well, because here's the weird thing. Like, he doesn't really need to be Iron Man, and this has kind of been established, because he's so techie.
Well, they're saying Shuri's potentially going to come in and take his place.
Well, yeah, she can do that, but, like, what I mean is, like, physically... Tony Stark really doesn't need to do anything. Yeah. Like, there's not actually a real reason for him to generally be physically present for things. It actually makes more sense for him to be like the guy in the sky or the man in the box. Yeah.
So.
All right, we gotta move on with time here. Before we move on, I'm gonna place my bet on who's gonna die. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Luis. I think he's gonna go down.
I'm gonna throw in that Hawkeye dies. I'm gonna say Hawkeye dies. Because no one's been talking about it, and I feel like that's oh, look how badass he is. He's sad about his family. We're kind of not sure what to do with this character. He's gone.
No, but I feel like, as much as people like to hate on him, I feel like there would be a lot of upset people if he actually did die. So,
I know he hasn't had a lot of time, but he's had some good moments in the series.
I think they did him wrong. They really could have done so much with that character.
Oh, yeah.
It got weird in the second Avengers film.
All right. Well, guys, we got to move on. Let's talk about the next, for me, a big trailer, and a lot of other people online. I know it's not as big as Avengers, but to me it's important. Godzilla,
I'm pretty sure Sheena's excited.
Yeah. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, official trailer number 2 came out. I'm pretty sure I said it before on the show, I've been a big Godzilla fan since I was really little. The 2014, the last one they did, the American Godzilla, it was okay. I had a few problems with it, mostly pretty much the same ones that everyone else did. That the lack of Godzilla and the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is a good actor, his character just got so boring. Like, his character was interesting when him and Bryan Cranston, like the dynamic between the father and son thing. But after that, his character got stale and somehow developed a magic power to be exactly where he needed to be at all times. But we got the new trailer. This movie starring Millie Bobby Brown, who most people know as Eleven from Stranger Things. The rumor I've heard is this character is going to have some kind of psychic link with Godzilla. That is not the first. See, Sarah's got a face. Sarah. Wait, Sarah, are you Godzilla fan? Do you watch Godzilla movies?
Sarah's got a face like, dude, what the fuck are you guys doing? Didn't you see how bad Halloween 4 was? Isn't that the one where he has a psychic niece? Like,
yeah, with it, he has a niece that's psychically linked to him. But anyway, everybody's gonna crucify me for this, but the 1999 Godzilla movie.
No, don't. Sarah, don't do this.
I actually enjoyed it, but the
leaving.
I'm actually not going to judge her. She was like going through puberty, and Matthew Broderick was on screen. I get it.
Yeah. See, I also love
if
giant
it was actually
lizards.
Ferris Bueller fighting Godzilla, it probably would.
Okay, wow. I would, yes.
Please, let's make that movie.
No, now I'm just imagining Matthew Broderick running from like Godzilla past like these really attractive screaming women. And he runs off screen and then he comes back and he's like, "Hi, I'm Ferris."
Big fucking monster. But anyway.
But no, I mean, I enjoyed the original Godzilla movie. I didn't mind the last Godzilla movie. I just got bored.
Yeah.
I was so bored.
Yeah. Let Godzilla take care of the action sequences and stop giving so much focus to the new monsters. We get it. They're gonna fuck and make more monsters. We get it.
Well, I just feel, the very first, not to get on that movie, but like at the very first time we see Godzilla, he comes out of the ocean, this epic entrance, and then flash forward to a fucking news report.
Oh, I hated that. I was losing my fucking mind when that happened. And I saw that. That was when I was still working at the movie theater. So it was like a midnight employee screening. So it was just me and like a few of the employees. And I screamed in the middle of a theater. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You give me what I want."
I mean, I'm a huge... So Pacific Rim is one of my all-time favorite movies. I love... If you give me giant monsters versus giant robots or giant monsters versus giant monsters, it's fantastic.
Yes.
But... The Godzilla movie was so disappointing, and so this new one, the only reason I made that face is because I don't like Millie Bobby Brown. I don't like children in my movies, and I don't like children being the focal point of my monster movie. I mean, you saw that with Pacific Rim 2, where they made children the focal point of the fucking movie.
Oh, you made the assumption that I watched Pacific Rim 2.
It was so bad. Please don't waste your life.
Exactly.
I watched it, and it was a lot of. You guys like seeing this shit, right? I'm like, no, we don't, you fucking morons. Yeah. This is why you... Okay. Just get Guillermo del Toro. He just... In front of the room... I always like... It's also one of those movies where they end the movie where it's like, yeah, we're going to do it more. They pulled an Independence Day 2 at the end where they had the fucking gall to think that they actually were going to do a franchise thing, and like, yeah, now we're going to... It was like, remember at the end of Independence Day 2, it's like, let's go kick some alien ass. They're like, now we're going to take the fight to the aliens' home planet. And that's what they did in Pacific. We're not talking about Godzilla anymore. I just realized that.
I like how you assumed that I watched Independence Day 2.
That's also a horrible movie.
Yeah. I avoid horrible movies if Vincent doesn't drag them to me. Like, no, but see, if I want to watch...
to you?
Stop bringing these movies to me as a sacrifice.
You know how hard it is to rip a screen out of an auditorium, Eric? All right? They're going to sue me, so you're going to watch this movie before I get taken to fucking prison. Right.
No, if I'm going to watch an awful film...
The most recent Godzilla trailer. I saw the first one. I didn't see the most recent.
Tell her about it, Vincent.
So this next one, it kind of just recaps a lot of the first trailer is that like more monsters are popping up. There's some kind of possible organization that is searching them out and waking them up that is not working with the government. Because in the first movie we had Monarch, that secret government agency. So it's Monarch versus some other group that they seem very well financed, maybe a little cultish. Like they believe that the I'm going to call them kaiju because I grow up watching these movies, that these things are the true inheritors of the Earth and they're waking them up to take the Earth back. So they seem a little cultish. But what's really cool in this trailer, we get to see, we get to see a little bit more of Mothra. We get to see more of Rodan, these classic, monsters from the old movies. There's also indications there might be a few monsters we didn't know about before because there's this one scene where like a whole like hill or mountain just explodes and like there's some kind of monster coming out of it. We don't know. I got fingers crossed for Anguirus because he's always a cool monster to me. But also we get to see more of one of the coolest bad guy monsters ever. One of Godzilla's greatest rivals, right up there with Mechagodzilla and Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to see more of fucking King Ghidorah, the three-headed... Well, in the old movies, he was a three-headed space monster, like three-headed space dragon. And this one, I think they're going with, he's from Earth like the other ones. And the end of the trailer with Godzilla running at Ghidorah, Ghidorah running at him, all three heads of Ghidorah going, Godzilla, they boom, jam right in the middle. And it's one of those things where it's like, you realize, like, Godzilla is basically defending his throne. It just looks so awesome, and... It's awesome, Eric.
I just realized for the first time that Godzilla is just professional wrestling with monsters.
Yes.
And there actually is,
that is awesome. That is awesome, Vincent.
And there actually is like this pro wrestling league where all the wrestlers dress up as giant monsters.
Wait, why have I not seen this?
Our good buddy.
Things to watch on your cell phone, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god.
Inside joke. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, there were certain topics that came up before we started the show tonight. I won't say what was on the cell phone, but I am insinuating really hard as to what it is.
How hard, Vincent? How hard are you insinuating?
Oh, rock hard. Do you feel me? Anyway,
I don't know. Work on your rhythm.
Yeah. So. But yeah, so we're gonna see a whole bunch. I'm excited for this. I mean, King Ghidorah is one of the in the movieverse. Every time they've rebooted the franchise in Japan, King Ghidorah has always shown up. Most of the time as a villain, because you got the original King Ghidorah, you got '90s King Ghidorah, you got that good guy Ghidorah they did in the one movie. It's like, and then you got like Kaiser Ghidorah that was in Godzilla Final Wars, which was a really cool movie. It was a homage to all the Godzilla movies. It was really fun. But anyway, yeah. So guys, as a lifelong Godzilla fan, I'm really excited. I'm hoping they. I mean, I don't think Gareth Edwards, who directed the first one, I don't think he's directing this one. So I mean. That means hopefully this director knows how to handle characters, unlike him.
I'm going to assume they learned from their first movie and are actually going to feature monster battles in this one.
All right. But anyway, so we're done for trailers for the night. Time to move on to our middle segment. We're going to talk about some television. Once again, we're keeping the nerdy track going. This past week, we had once again the big crossover event for the CW's DC Hero shows. Last season, we had a massive 4-night crossover with Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. This year, it was only between Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl. Legends were involved. But from what I heard, they had their own kind of really great mid-season finale going on, so I haven't got a chance to check that out yet. But the basic concept is the Elseworlds. For those who are not familiar with the Elseworlds concept, it's DC's way of exploring stories with characters outside of the normal timeline. Basically, alternate dimensions, what-if stories, like what if things happened this way instead of that way. And kind of that way. What happens really is a famous DC character called the Monitor, who's basically this godlike...
I'm sorry. There's a famous DC character who's just a hallway monitor?
Yeah, and he's serious, man. If you don't have the pass, he throws your ass into a black hole. But yeah, he has given this book, which I believe they called it in the show the Book of Destiny. He gives it to a character, this guy called Dr. Deegan, who is most known in the comics as Dr. Destiny. And he says, use this book and rewrite reality. Go crazy. And he's like, okay. And he tries to, like, and for whatever reason, at first, the way he rewrites reality is he has Oliver Queen, a.k.a. Green Arrow, and Barry Allen, the Flash, switch lives. Not switch bodies, but...
I'm sorry. This just sounds so funny to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Oliver Queen's like, I thought I was going to lose my parents later in life.
No, you're saying like Oliver, Green Arrow wakes up in Flash's bed, and he wakes up, goes out, and like there's a Flash's wife, Iris, making breakfast, and when she sees Oliver, she sees Barry. Like everybody's perception of who is who has changed.
Okay.
Yeah, but Oliver knows that he's Oliver. But he has the Flash's powers.
Wait, time out. Does do Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan make a guest appearance?
No, but they are mentioned multiple times because there comes a point in the show where like Barry, he's now Green Arrow. He doesn't have his flash powers, but he can fight like Oliver can. And they eventually tell their friends like, yeah, something's happened. We've switched lives, and they don't believe them. And they're like, man, this is like a Freaky Friday thing. It's like, no, this is like Quantum Leap. Well, I don't know. Well, if it's Quantum Leap, and you couldn't see each other in the mirror. And like, right, and they try to like Freaky Friday and Quantum Leap keep getting brought up because they're trying to explain what this scenario is, and it does lead to a lot of hijinks. You got Cisco and all the other nerdy characters, and they're talking about it.
You know, hearing about this, I honestly, I don't think I'm going to watch the crossover episodes, but I might go back. No, I'm almost certainly going to go back and rewatch the Freaky Friday episode of Community.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably the best episode from the disappointing season 4, where they fired Dan Harmon because he's a lunatic who is sexually harassing a coworker. Well, I made things take a dark turn. So anyways, in the DC universe,
superheroes are fun. Anyway, yeah, so the first episode, it's this really cool. So they're like, and no one's believing them. In fact, their friends are like, okay, they're having some kind of shared psychosis. We need to lock them down. Eventually, they're like, okay, we need to, and they've introduced the concept of the multiverse already in the show, that there's multiple different universes where things happen differently. So they go to Earth 38, where Supergirl is, because they're like, okay, if Kara also thinks we're each other, then we know things are even worse than we thought. But they go there, and Earth 38 has not been affected by the stuff. And also, we get to see Superman again in the show, played by Tyler Hoechlin or Hecklin. I've heard pronounced so many ways, which I like him. I think
Tyler Hottie. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, he's got a hell of a chin. That is a manly chin.
He was a good pick.
Yeah, no. Honestly, when we see him like in the previous season of Supergirl, honestly, I've talked about on the show. Eric knows. I think he's a really great Superman, and he was also good in this. And then by the end of the episode,
Vince has a bit of a crush.
A little bit.
That's fair.
But no, he's really good. And then at the end of the episode, they have to fight a Mazo, and it's really cool. And then in the next episode, they're like, well, they're trying to track down Dr. Destiny and get this book thing. And they go to Gotham, and we go to Gotham, and Batman apparently has been gone for several years, and Gotham's just gone to, I would say gone to shit, but gone to like more shit because it's Gotham. And that place is just
it's a fucking cesspool.
Gone to Dung Farm?
Yeah. And they meet Batwoman. Now, it was announced a few months ago that Batwoman would be in this crossover. She's played by actress Ruby Rose, who, honestly, I have not really... The only thing I've seen her in was John Wick 2, but she was pretty cool in that.
She was fantastic in John Wick 2.
And in this, little bit here and there, you kind of hear her Australian accent come out a little bit, but for the most part, she has it down. We only get to see so much of her as Batwoman, but honestly, it got me... way she played herself in her civilian form and in Batwoman form, it got my interest. If they do decide to come out with this Batwoman show, which they've been talking about a lot, I'd watch it. But then by the end of the episode, they get the book away for like a minute, but then the book gets back, and the Monitor is like, and it reveals that the reason why the Monitor's doing all this is like there's some horrible thing coming down the road. There's somebody more powerful than him coming, the Anti-Monitor.
Teacher?
Yeah. And the reason why he's doing this is because he's testing the various universes to find out which universe's heroes are the best choices to take on this looming threat. And he gives the book back to Dr. Destiny, and Dr. Destiny really fucks up reality to the point where now Barry and Oliver don't have any powers or skills. They're villains. They still remember who they are, and Dr. Destiny has transformed himself into a black-suited Superman. And that basically everybody loves because everybody thinks it's like this is normal reality, you know. And it gets kind of crazy here and there, and but here's the thing now. Okay, so long story short, this movie has ton of fans. This crossover has ton of fan service. A lot of it is really fun. The interactions between Oliver and Barry are always good. Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin, they work well together. I wish, you know, anytime they have anywhere, the small crossover, big crossover is fun. All these Easter eggs, like they're in Gotham, and we go to Arkham Asylum, and we see like a cell door that says Cobblepot on it, and then there's also another cell door that says Guggenheim, which I think is just a shout out to one of the producers, Mark Guggenheim. And it's just a ton of fun. And eventually, in the last, now here's my big gripe with the crossover. In part 3, the last part, you know, we got Dr. Destiny. He's now like this evil version of Superman. Right, and he's basically in charge because nobody has any powers now. Right, Supergirl's like locked up in a one of the Flash's like metahuman cells, so her powers are dampened. She can't get out. But able to get back to Earth 38, Barry and Oliver, they bring back Superman. He just pops in, looks at black suit Superman, is like, nice suit, right? And it's just he delivers it really well, and then they fight. So we got Superman versus like black suited evil super Deegan man. I don't know, and it was a disappointing fight. Honestly,
Really?
Superman gets in one good solid hit, and then black Superman grabs like a helicopter and throws it. So Superman goes to save those people, and after that, black suited Superman just dominates the fight from that point on. And I'm like, no. Let Superman like have some back and forth. Like if he gets the upper hand, fine. He's a villain. He's gonna do some shit, right? But there wasn't enough back and forth, and it made Superman look like he wasn't that good of a fighter because like after a certain point, like yeah, he's just dominated, and it disappointed the hell out of me.
Vince, while you've been talking, you've been missing Zach Funk being Barry Allen on our comment thread.
I know. I've seen Funk. I see you.
He's
there,
dropped
man.
about 3 dozen posts, and they're amazing.
I know. Yeah, I know she was in the Meg, Zach. I know she was in,
Zach Funk also recording a comedy album at Mr. Smalls in Zach post and tell us, but I think it's April.
Yeah, Zach, leave down in the comments. Zach Funk is a friend of ours, a very funny comedian. Look him up, Zach. Please go ahead. Please feel free to leave something down in the comments section.
And Krish Mohan is recording his album Empathy for Sale, February.
Yeah, and I'm going to be part of that show at the Funhouse. I'm going to be one of the openers. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, you have a show with Liz Mohan.
Yes, Liz Mohan. Yeah, where that's going to be her birthday show in
January 12th.
January 12th. Yes.
Is that Ham Bones or?
Yeah, it's going to be in Ham Bones. Nice. All right. But anyway, so one other thing where so eventually long story short, they get the book back, and we reveal in the crossover that in order to get the book back, the Flash and Supergirl have to combine their super speed powers to slow down time so they can beat black-suited Superman. And apparently they're supposed to die. Like, Superman looks into the Book of Destiny and sees that it will kill them if they try this maneuver. But then Oliver goes to the Monitor and says, you can't let them die. They're our best hopes of stopping of whatever is coming up, this evil you're talking about. And the Monitor's like, okay, I can stop that, but if they don't die, somebody has to. And then they just cut away, and you're like, oh, crap, Oliver made, like, a deal to, like, sooner or later, like, Green Arrow's probably going to die to take their place.
I mean, it's about time, please.
Okay, I'm just going to say it now. The porn parody version of this is going to have more plot coherence than this, actually. Yeah.
That's exactly. See, the thing is,
the Book of Destiny's pages are stuck together.
Also, I want to make one real quick point. You said that they didn't believe them, that they were switched bodies, etc. I mean, how much fucked up shit do they normally see on a basis that they don't believe them? Like, oh no, you're just you're experiencing psychosis. You can't act. I'm like, you guys fucking see random ass shit all the fucking time.
That's extremely valid. In fact, that's kind of a meta incongruence that something we're going to talk about pretty soon did not make the same mistake with.
Yes. So yeah, last thing I'll say is like there's one other thing at the end of the episode where like after the evil's been beaten, Superman announced. Oh yeah, in this crossover we also got to meet Lois Lane for the first time in the Arrowverse. I forget what the actress's name was, but she did a pretty good job. Another I'd like to see, and the interactions between her and Tyler Hoechlin were on point. Like I believe that you guys have been in a relationship for a while. I believe you're Superman. I believe you're Lois. It's like she's got that spunk and it's like Boy Scout charm and all that. But anyway, so they reveal at the end of the episode that Lois is pregnant.
Oh.
Yes, and what they're going to do is like they're going to go off-world so the kid doesn't like accidentally kick through her stomach, and that they're going to be gone. And like Supergirl's like, oh, you're going to be gone for 9 months, and he's like, actually, Supergirl, you're so great at doing your job, I'm just going to retire, and they're not coming back. And this is something that really pisses me the fuck off because at the end of season 2 of Supergirl and Superman had a fight because Superman was under silver kryptonite, right? And afterwards, he's like, and they're like, well, you were under silver kryptonite, so Supergirl kind of like lucked out and beat you. He's like, nope, I was at full power. She straight up beat me. And then later in the episode was like, okay, I can see Supergirl being Superman, but you'd have to like make it so like, yeah, she's. If you're doing a team up thing, don't make one hero look better than the other. That's just like I don't care which heroes it is. That's just like dumb shit to me. And at the end of that episode, like Supergirl had to make a really tough decision, and Clark's like, "You're so much better than me. I couldn't have made that decision." And it's like, Supergirl's already the star of her show. Stop fucking like.
Okay, I'm just wondering if Kevin Smith is going to sue them. Because like they totally just stole one of Brody's comments from Mallrats.
No, Kevin Smith has directed multiple episodes of several of these shows. He
Might have actually written that.
Yeah.
Like, no, because like 50% of Mallrats is just Brody talking about superheroes having sex.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah,
and whether or not it would be physically possible and if Lois Lane would die.
Right. So all of this means is that we're not going to get a Superman show, which a lot of the fan base has been asking for because they all love Tyler Hoechlin as Superman. I would have just settled for like maybe a mini series or like a TV movie of it. But yeah, so we're basically not going to see Superman anymore. And there's the way they treat it. It's like Supergirl. Let her shine. She's the star of her show. Melissa Benoist, even if people who've had problems with the show say they like Melissa Benoist as Supergirl. You don't need Superman to tell her straight up, you're so much better than me. And another thing, and it's bad for Supergirl because season 1 of her show, a lot of her journey was showing that she's just not a female Superman, that she's a hero in her own right, that she's not defined by her male counterpart. But by having her male counterpart being the reason why she's so awesome, because he gets his ass kicked by her, you're defining her by her male counterpart.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm going to stop right there because we got to get to a movie. I got to take my jacket off.
While he's taking his jacket off, I'm going to tell you that Zach Funk is recording Brains Are Weird April 12th at Mr. Smalls.
Yes, down in the comment section on the Facebook feed, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. But now we got to get to something.
Very funny, very nerdy, very excellent human being. But we're about to talk about the main event for the evening.
Exactly.
The reason I believe that Miss Sarah is here, other than to get you guys to watch her excellent Twitch stream, but to talk about the amazing Into the Spiderverse. I kind of fucked that up. I was like, where do I?
Amazing Spider-Man. I was like, no, that's the horrible one. I got canceled.
Yeah, they didn't even give it a third one.
No.
But anyway, yes.
Which was worse, Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man or Garfield?
Garfield. Because fucking.
I mean,
You're missing Sarah's face on this.
I
can
just
feel
can't
it.
do Andrew Garfield. Like, I just can't. First of all, him being like 30 years old playing a high school kid, I'm just like, no, he's not even convincing.
It worked on 90210, okay? 90s throwback. Anyway, so yeah, we all saw together Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Guys, so initial thoughts. We're gonna start with Sarah because you're our guest tonight. Initial thoughts of the movie.
I think it's the best Spider-Man movie by far.
Damn, Eric. Initial thoughts on the movie.
I like how Sarah looked at me as she said that because I think the first word. This is the first night that I've met Sarah. I showed up late because I got held up at work. I was very upset about this because I had forgot that this was coming. Then when you told me that I was super stoked. I was so excited.
I didn't realize you didn't know. I just thought I didn't have to tell you. I just thought you would.
I spent 3 days in Miami. Life is weird. There's been shit going on, Vincent.
Sorry.
Sometimes I don't know where in reality I am. Anyways, I was held up at work, so I showed up way late. I was so angry, and immediately I just showed up and bam, it hit me, and I don't know where to start because I don't know what to reveal, but can we...
Okay, so I'll reveal the basic plot. The plot of the movie is a young teenage boy named Miles Morales, who, if you're familiar with the comic books, you'll know. He's some people call him the Black Spider-Man, but honestly...
He's Ultimate Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, because he's from another universe where in the movie, the Kingpin is developed some kind of machine that's is piercing into other dimensions. We don't know why he's doing this at first, but it's this big Hadron Collider. Is that how you say it? Hadron?
I don't fucking...
Collider. They keep calling it Collider.
Yeah.
It's a particle collider, motherfucker.
I kept thinking kaleidoscope. Why are they using a kaleidoscope?
Well,
it was very
colorful. I was gonna say, yeah.
It was very colorful.
And it's very cool shapes and polygons and all that. Yeah. So, and he's trying to pierce into other dimensions, and this causes Spider-Man, different versions of Spider-Man, to be ripped out of several universes. We have a version of Spider-Man that's in his early 40s, and he's that stuff, and he's got a bit of a gut. We've got Spider-Gwen, who for those who don't know, was in an alternate universe where Peter Parker's first girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, didn't die. She actually became Spider-Man instead of Peter. And then we also have Spider-Man Noir, who's what if Spider-Man...
was in a video game that did kind of decent on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, 1930 Spider-Man. He's got
He hates Nazis and color.
Yeah, I'm always down for superheroes punching Nazis. I'm just going to throw that out there. We also got Spider-Ham, which is a cartoony, porky pig Spider-Man kind of character. And then we got, I don't know what her hero name is, but we have Penny Parker, who's a anime little girl who has a spider robot.
Yeah, she has a telepathic link to a spider that's in a robot, which is... does the spider control the robot? I didn't understand.
Stop criticizing. You should just be excited that there was a mecha robot in this.
I mean, I enjoyed her. I liked her character. I just was very confused.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe that is a real thing from the comics somewhere.
Yeah, no, all these characters have been in at least one or have been in a few comic issues. Some of them, like Spider-Gwen, has a full volume of stories, and she's become a very popular character, much like Miles Morales, who was part of, I think in the comics he was from the Ultimate Universe. I just found it dumb they said call it Ultimate. But anyway, he's from and the Ultimate Universe in the comics got destroyed, from what I understand. But he was one of the few survivors that was able to make his way into the Prime universes, which I'm going to call it the main universe. So let's talk about. And he gets bitten by a spider. He gets spider powers, and he has to team up with all these other spider persons, and it's really cool. And they don't bring them all at once; they come, little by little, which is good. You don't want them to get splashed all in there. And we're fighting various Spider-Man films. We see Scorpion, we see Tombstone, we see one that's not in the trailer, so I'm not going to mention it. But let's, goddamn.
Okay, so you're covering the basic plot. I'm going to say something that will only be a spoiler to people who already know what's up. The plot follows the Ultimate Spider-Man storyline and origin to a fair amount of degrees, in that the events that lead to Miles Morales being the Spider-Man of his universe are the events that we see transpire in the film. And I showed up late immediately to find out that is what had happened, and that hit me harder than the end of Infinity Wars. That was Spider-Man is an iconic character, and I think it's absolutely great what they've done with this, because identity politics is a thing everyone talks about, but we all have a sense of identity, and the more that we can relate to something, we tend to like it. Spider-Man is a great comic, and the whole concept of with great power comes great responsibility is relatable to everyone, but Peter Parker is especially relatable to tiny little white brown-haired nerds with glasses who are kind of mouthy. And not that we're the only demographic, but they.
No, we're not claiming that.
And it was very cool to see a Spider-Man for fucking everyone in this.
And not only that, I know the movie centers around Miles Morales, of
absolutely,
course, 'cause he's the new face, but they really do Peter Parker justice.
Oh yeah,
It's not, there's no, and you know how we had talked about, with Superman and Supergirl with the team up making one better than the other?
Yeah.
There's none of that in this movie.
Yeah,
you have, all of the spiders have their own strengths, but they all work together as a cohesive unit.
Yeah, they all work together as a cohesive unit. Each one of them's got a distinct personality. Spider-Man Noir is voiced by Nick Cage, which I thought that was cool. He's getting back up there, people. He's almost done paying off his taxes. He's getting back up there.
You know what? He does well with the comic book films. He does.
Well, because he was almost Superman.
Well, I was just going to say because he was amazing and kick-ass.
It was back in the 90s before he started buying.
So Sarah's comment about this being the best Spider-Man movie, I have not met Sarah before tonight. I showed up late and just found a seat and sat down and watched. And after the movie ended, as the credits were rolling, and we were all hoping that there would be something in the trailer, I walked up to Vince and Sarah, practically shaking in a state of wondrous befuddlement, and I was just like, this is the best Spider-Man film. Though shout out to my
you were having a nerd seizure.
Shout out to my friend and comedian Chris Clem, who was able to see an advanced screening of this at 2 p.m. on Tuesday or some shit, and said that not only was this the best Spider-Man film, but this was basically a love letter to Spider-Man fans, and I would have to say that accurately characterizes this film.
Yeah. I will say that I'm not... Spider-Man has never been my favorite Marvel character. I've never followed him in the comics. The primary exposure that I've gotten to him has been the cinematic universe, starting from the original movies and moving forward. And I've gotten a little bit more into him as I've started to actually read comics. I got a subscription to Marvel, and I was just like, read. But,
literacy good.
So, exactly. But, so, like, as a not Spider-Man fan, the whole controversy about Miles Morales and everything like that didn't hit me. I didn't give a shit. But I think, like, I feel like anybody should just be won over by this movie. Like, to be on Miles Morales' side after this movie. If you go see this movie and you absolutely hate the concept of Miles Morales and you just don't like him because he's replacing Peter Parker and oh my God, you go to this movie, you're gonna fall in love with this kid. Like,
No, the character was done very well, very well. I understood where he was every step of the way. I understand why he was excited or upset or scared. The voice actor is named, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Shamik Moore. I'm not familiar with his work, but I believe it. I remember at first people thought Donald Glover was going to voice him, but that didn't.
He should have been the Spider-Man in the second Spider-Man franchise instead of Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Which was an idea that was thrown around. I think Glover was pushing for it, and I think two of the most impressive things that need to be understood about this film is, first of all, I didn't realize, I thought this was Marvel. I guess this is a primarily, if not completely, Sony. Like, this is Sony.
Yeah, Sony made a good Spider-Man movie.
No, Sony made an amazing Spider-Man movie, which is impressive because it's Sony who has like almost been making DC look capable. They've been that almost. And secondly, if you remember a while back, there was a leaked email that Sony was like, "Oh, for the purposes of on-screen, Spider-Man will always be a straight white Caucasian." Yeah.
That was like when they got hacked.
A few years back, yeah. And that was like a big thing. And now they did a film where, there is Spider-Man as a straight white Caucasian, but this is Miles Morales' show. Yeah. Like he is and there is Spider-Man in all the forms, pretty much.
Honestly, you know how you were having like that. I was so riveted to the screen throughout this entire movie, and it's not just because of the fact that it's Spider-Man. It's the visuals in this movie are absolutely astounding.
Oh yeah, I wanted to bring up the art style and the animation worked very well for me. I only had like one minor gripe with it. The only real gripe I had with it is that in shots where there's stuff in the background and like, it's a little fuzzy, it's out of focus, just like, but it looked like how a camera goes out of focus. It didn't look like how that. But beyond that, I liked all the character designs. I liked how they incorporated like comic book bubbles and text boxes and stuff like that.
Wait, so you didn't like how they made it look like an actual live action film? Also, Sarah was saying earlier, like she just said that it was visually amazing, but you also pointed out the music selection.
Oh my goodness!
It was like Baby Driver or Forrest Gump or one of those movies where every song selection and choice has a purpose and feels perfect.
Even just the sound effects.
Yeah.
Is just it fits so well. I mean, I literally have no word. I could not describe how much I love this movie, and I'm very picky about what movies I enjoy. And I can't think really of anything that I disliked about this movie. I'm struggling to come up with. I mean, even the pacing was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The slow parts were just enough to where you could have that emotional little bit and that little bit of narration, but then you're immediately back into action. Yeah. And there was at no point in the movie was I like looking at my phone or doing anything, which I do because I have the attention span of a squirrel. It was just amazing. And
I saw a squirrel and I went like this. Go on.
Yeah.
Now, a few things I'm looking up here. So this movie had like 3 directors, which would make it even more amazing to me that the movie turned out as well as it did. Because sounds like too many cooks in the kitchen to me. But directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. And the screenplay, now this makes a lot more sense to me. The screenplay was done by Phil Lord, who was one of the directors of the Lego Movie. So I'm starting to see where some of this humor is coming from.
I was actually going to say, I was thinking on the drive over here, I was like, man, this had a lot of similarities to the Lego film. Like,
there is a lot of humor in this movie, but it's not overdone in any capacity. There are just some genuine laugh out loud sections.
Yeah,
very funny, but also with a very good meta self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like, Peter Parker pops up and is like, oh, this is sort of stuff that happens to Spider-Man all the time. Like, oh, this is just very Spider-Man. Like, they even call the, like, hack drive they have to use a goober. It's like, oh, they use all sorts of different names for it. I just call it a goober because this is what it does. It's...
Yeah. And I feel like a big reason why this movie it was successful, like, you know, because we had Spider-Man Homecoming, which was a huge success.
Also a very good movie.
Yes, and it was hilarious. And I feel like this movie had a combination of the successful films in certain aspects. I think it had the good quality humor of Homecoming, and it also had some of the good dramatic, heartfelt moments of the Sam Raimi films. Because there's moments in this movie that are legitimately sad. Like,
I cried.
Oh, God,
I'm
no.
not gonna lie. Like, I actually cried.
Like, there were... I wasn't quite as distraught as I was when I saw Up in theaters, but, like, close. Like, really, really close. Like, yeah.
And I was so impressed with this movie because the writing is so well put together.
Yeah, none of the dialogue was bad or cringy.
Yeah.
There's only one moment that I hated. It's like where Miles' dad drops him off at school. Minor spoiler. This isn't a trailer.
Yeah.
Drops him off at school, and he's like, they had like a kind of a fight, and he's like, Miles, tell me you love me before you go into class. And it's like in front of all his new classmates' first day of school. Like, it's such a first day at school trope. But beyond that, that's like honestly, it's not it's like, well, that's literally the worst part of the movie.
Yeah.
When that's your worst part of the movie, you done well. Yeah. So I think we're getting towards the end here. So I got time. Okay. So guys, this is pretty much unnecessary at this point, but let's do it. Sarah, do you recommend or not recommend this movie?
If you don't go see it, like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, I mean, if there's one movie you're gonna see, go fucking see it now.
Yeah. Don't worry about Mortal Engines. You can see that next week. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I know. I'm gonna watch that movie. I'll let you all get into that. So, Eric, recommendation, not recommendation. I don't even know why I'm asking.
On my way to the film, I messaged my girlfriend and was like, I'm so pissed right now because of work, like, held me up. And we finished the film, and I checked my phone, and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And my response was just, the movie was fucking amazing. 2 whole lines of exclamation points, followed up with, there was a magical girl with a spider and a mecha. Like, yes, go see this movie. Go, like, there were little kids, there were adults. This is this is like the Shrek of Spider-Mans, that it appeals to, like, age. Like, you can watch this with kids around, you can watch this with adults. It was fantastic. Go see this.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, I totally give this a recommendation. I am amazed that Sony has made a good Spider-Man movie once again. I mean, obviously, they probably had some help from Marvel Studios. There's a lot of input there. But no, good for them. They needed a Spider-Man. They haven't had a good Spider-Man win in a long time. They haven't had a animated win in a long time. I don't think so. Sony, just keep doing this. This is what we're asking for. And another thing, Sony actually had a personal win, because for years now they've been trying to get a Spider-Man movie where it's like they have like 5 or 6 villains in one movie, and they finally did it, and it worked. Yeah. They finally got what they wanted. We all got what we wanted.
And it wasn't clunky. It was beautiful.
It was so good.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we got to wrap things up. We're getting towards the end here. But once again, I want to thank our guest, Sarah, a.k.a. K. Nukshi.
You want to spell that for our viewers real quick?
No. Just follow her on Twitch. By the way, we got to go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider contributing to our Patreon, patreon.com/POVincent. We appreciate everything. Once again, Sarah, Eric, we had a great time. We'll see you guys all next week, Thursday night, another live stream, POVincent Podcast.